Morning. This is a short video. It's the introduction to the SCIP Vision series of videos to bring our loyal followers online to what we're actually doing with our sustainable nation building industry and why we're building it, because it's new. It's new and it's a unique industry to help stabilise our climate system and to provide solutions to the 13 global crises coming upon mankind in the next few years. It's going to be triggered in another 90 days time in November, and from there you're going to see another 12 more global crises occur. In November we're looking at the 2019 stock market crash predicted by Harry Dent, but everybody's been criticising the fact that you got all these experts predicting when this crash is going to happen, and they know it's going to happen because of the size of the bubble in the banking system, the financial bubble. But we just happen to know that it is going to occur in November because of the underworld response to Agenda 21 when they saw it online. If you go to YouTube, Agenda 21 exposed by Rosa Kior, you will be deeply distressed. The so-called sustainable development for the 21st century is like the biggest deception ever by the United Nations, the most corrupt and evil organisations on the planet, claiming that they are going to solve climate change problems when they are building 1,600 new coal-fired power stations which are responsible for 45% of greenhouse gas emissions. How does that one equate? How true can that be if they're saving our planet from man-made destruction when they are building 1,600 new coal-fired power stations at $2 billion to $4 billion each? Doesn't make sense, does it? Then why do you all believe that the United Nations are the humanitarians, are the environmentalists, the world leaders in saving our planet from man-made destruction? So we have a vision to create a happy future for our children and for our children's children. But how on earth are you going to do that when you find out the truth about United Nations Agenda 21? Check it out. So we know that in November Harry Dent's predictions are going to come true because all the underworld using the dark net, well, key members of the underworld using the dark net are very upset with the threat posed by Agenda 21, and they're going to cut up all the railway tracks around the world that carry coal. And if you don't know what that means, you're in for a rude awakening, because immediately that's going to crash the global financial system as Harry Dent predicted, but it won't be done by the financial bubble bursting. It'll be done by the railway tracks being cut up in Australia, which is 30% of the coal supplied around the world comes out of Australia. So if you've got 30% suddenly can't be exported, and then all the indigenous activists around the world with the underworld are cutting up all the other railway tracks and all the other nations that use coal, you need to do your homework. You need to find out whether the city or the town you live in is dependent on coal-fired power production, because the chances are you're not going to have any. And if you don't have any coal-fired power production when you're 100% dependent on it, you're going to experience what I experienced yesterday and the night before. Our power was cut off in Maylands from 9 o'clock the previous evening right through to what I thought was 7 in the morning when I left. And when I got back, it had only just got back on at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So that is over 27 hours we had a blackout, a total blackout in mainlands, and that's telling you something. And our people in our area could not use their stoves, fridges, freezers, washing machines, anything that used electricity they could not use. So this is the global energy crisis that's coming, but there are 13 global crises going to occur, and that's going to inhibit us from attaining our vision. Now I can go into all these global crises such as climate change, and then the 2020 petroleum crisis, but the worst one of the lot is, climate change is nothing compared to mass population displacement, which is coming. So rather than focus on all the negatives and all these crises, there is a solution. The solution is our sustainable nation building industry, utilising our engineered transmigration to first of all, find all the decent, good-hearted people around the world and open up opportunities for them to relocate into the frontier and emerging markets where they have a high peace index, a low corruption index. They are aligned to our vision for the children, to create a happy future for our children and for our children's children. They'll open the borders to let our people in as we rapidly mass produce sustainable villages for repatriating indigenous peoples, and also our sustainable cities in paradise for non-indigenous peoples to get out of the dangerous towns and cities that are going to be all around the world. If your town or city you live in is dependent on fossil fuels and automobiles for the economy to function, you can kiss goodbye to it come this time next year, because there will be a serious petroleum crisis. I'm not going to go into it. It's covered in these videos that we have for you. So what I do want to say is that it doesn't matter what you plan in life, whether it's a business, a project with friends, or at school. What a good thing to do is to do what we call a SWOT analysis. You look at the strengths of the project, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats. Now you can have all the greatest strengths in the world, the most fantastic, minimal weaknesses and the most fantastic opportunities, but if you've got one threat you can't get around, you need to scrub it. It's like you can do a SWOT analysis for a relationship with someone you're really keen on. You might be falling in love with them, but what you've got to ask is, what are the strengths to get into this relationship? What are the weaknesses? What are the opportunities? And you seriously need to look at the threats, right? Because it's the threats that are going to undo you. And in relationships, if you've got a partner who's jealous and they're possessive, you're in for a hell of a time, a hell of a bad time. And then when you break up, they're going to get nasty, and I mean really nasty. Like I was here, I'm out in front of the Apple shop. Yesterday I was here and a woman said that her brother broke up with a nasty girlfriend who put a lock on their iPhone, latest iPhone. And he came here to get it unlocked, and Apple said, I'm sorry, we can't. There's a lock on it. This is how spiteful people become. They stop you having access to the children if you've got children. All these sort of nasty things. And those are the threats that people fail to see in assessing the relationships that they were going to get into. So here we have a business called Sustainable Nation Building Industry, based on engineered transmigration for moving the people back into the rural, particularly the remote wilderness regions, free from pollution of the air, the water, the land, soil, and everything else, where people can live in true peace and security, away in no drugs or alcohol abuse or anything like that, and no crime and violence. But if you're stuck in a conventional town and city, they're all going to be in very serious trouble come next year. No petroleum, or very little, and what petroleum they do have will be very, very expensive. That's going to lead to high costs for automobiles, high costs for food, and that's going to lead to geopolitical chaos all around the planet. It will lead also into major civil unrest and also civil wars around the planet. So major number of threats, but what we want you to know is our SCIP, Sustainable Cities in Paradise, the ultimate safe lifestyle destination. And to do it, it's all part of our vision for the children, to create a happy future for our children and for our children's children, both Indigenous and non-Indigenous. Because we say non-Indigenous because we have the Indigenous Peoples Learning Network, which is the marketing arm for our Sustainable Cities in Paradise. So feel free to watch our videos, starting from video 1, and they're titled SCIP, SCIP, and then Vision, and they're all about bringing our vision to fruition. That's a pretty good rhyme. So enjoy them, watch them. If you have any questions, follow us on Instagram when we're on Instagram, and then also through social media. But we explain why we are not out there, and because of the dangers of this industry that we're in. So enjoy the videos. Bye for now.